Hello, it's John, and I'm going to give you a little walk around the beautiful town of Kelso and Patch, who's been dying for a walk for a little while. And yeah, what I'd like to do is just take you on a tour and show you around this beautiful town that's down by the Scottish borders. And 2 years ago, we bought a holiday house here, and it is, yes, super stunning. We let the holiday house out during the kind of Easter to end of summer and I guess start of winter. So we're just down here now after renting it out for a while. And it's a really historic town. It's like a market town, and it's about an hour and 10 minutes from where we are. It's about an hour and 10 minutes from the capital, Edinburgh. And no doubt I'll take you on a bit of a tour around the different sites. And what I'd like to talk to you about as I walk around is the subject of energy, which is in many different dimensions. And I was just guided to walk and talk and share some of my musings. This is the river that's down to the high street down there, and then down here is the river Tweed, so it goes down to Berwick-upon-Tweed. It's also where Tweed was invented. So let's walk down this way first, Patch, and then we can go down there. So this heads down towards the castle, Floors Castle, which is the end of the street that we live in. Yeah, so to talk to you about energy, to first talk about experiences of what's going on with like energy prices, like certainly in the UK and I believe much of the world. We are focusing a lot more on our attention on consumption of energy and the production of energy, the cost in particular. And as we come into the winter months, really just thinking of all those souls that are you know, it's on their minds about how they're going to continue to heat their homes and keep warm. And one thing that really resonates with me was, as you know, we go camping many weekends. I was going to say most. We haven't. It's been a few weeks since it was most weekends. But yeah, one thing I thought was really interesting was just let's get close over here. Was how there was like a question and answer session with a guy that lives in his own like RV motorhome, and he was just saying, like, he was answering the question like, how much electricity do I need when I'm out living in my van? And I thought that was really cool because it's a really difficult question to answer because we're all different, we all consume different amounts. And so things, for instance, like charging phones, etc., really just aren't that much. Come on, Pitch. Come on. It's not much to charge a phone, but it's a lot of power to boil a kettle or to heat really anything. Come on, Pitch. So that depends. You know, it doesn't really matter like how many phones you have. Really, it's more about how many times you boil a kettle, or how much heat, how much you have your heating on, what temperature you have your like your vehicle at, or your home at. And so when I like first got into electronics and setting up like mains power electrics in our van, I definitely found that it learns a lot more about the different devices and how much power they consume. So for we have like 200 amp hours at 12 volts. Come on, Pitch. Come on. And those 200 amp hours will probably keep us going for a few days. It really depends on usage. And so to give some examples, I could probably boil a kettle in it, like an average day, boil the kettle about 3 or 4 times on the batteries. we could watch TV with a TV that's designed for it, like a lower power TV. It's designed for motorhomes to use very little power. You can have them on for hours and hours, not use a lot of power. The kids' laptops, if they're gaming, they can use a lot of power. Their CPUs are like on the laptops are just, and the GPUs are just like burning power. But if they're just like browsing the web and stuff, they again can last for a few hours, like 3 or 4 hours. And then there's things like cooking, quite similar, not as much power as boiling a kettle per minute, but still quite intensive. Anyway, I could list all the examples, and you start to learn with every example that it's really just a matter of your choice, like how much power do you choose to use. And it's, as the energy bills have been going up, certainly in the UK they're doubling or have already doubled, and which is quite ironic because we, in my town, we have like a nuclear power station there. This is just the entrance to Flores Castle, which I'll take you up to just now. And yeah, I'm getting used to much more about just managing the energy in terms of how much you really need to use and being conscious about it. And I think that conscious use, that conscious consumption is really, really cool, because it helps in every way, right? It helps with money, it helps with consumption of some resources, such as fossil fuels that are finite and not great for our environment. And then there's also the aspect of just being able to be grateful for what you have. So I've been doing things in our homes, like listen to me, in our holiday home and our home, we have been turning down the thermostat a little bit. We've been turning off the heating when we don't need it. We've been turning off the bedroom heating really during the day. We don't have a lot. Letting the sun heat the rooms a bit during the day. Setting each of the radiators to the right individual temperature, which is really handy if you've got like a thermostatic valve. And I just want to give you a quick tour of the entrance to Flores Castle. We might be able to get a glimpse of it. Oh, Patch is doing what dogs do. Yeah, Flores Castle must be hundreds of years old, and the Roxburgh family live here. They still do. And the Duke of Roxburgh, if you haven't heard me talk about that lineage before, I've been in quite a few different houses in both. We've lived in different houses in Dunbar and in Kelso, where the Roxburghs have been like the builders or the owners previously. And it's quite funny because it just builds up a pattern. So our last house, our house but one in Dunbar, was built by the Duke of Roxburgh about 140 years ago. And then our last house, the wall that was on the back of our property, was also built and owned by the Roxburghs. And then a current home also shares a wall with it. Has the old wall, like 100-plus-year-old wall. And there's a rainbow, look at that. I don't know if you can see it, it's just going up over the top of the gates. It's really beautiful. And then from the castle here, the castle's just a bit further up the drive, but straight down towards the sun, just past that church, is the old abbey. And the abbey dates back to like 1,000 years ago, which is just incredible. And the whole area, doing a slightly more research into the area, I must admit we still don't really know the history of our holiday home. It's like 100-plus years old, but we don't know what it was. It might have been a fire station previously. It might have been the store for a fire station. It might have been a builder's yard. an office. We don't know yet, so we're learning. But the street, Beaumont Street, is like the name of the Roxburgh, the Duke of Roxburgh, before before they gain the title, before they're old enough to gain the title of Duke of Roxburgh in that lineage. And that's the name of the street that our house is on. So, yes, and I just thought it was really interesting with energy because they, often castles are built next to a water source so that they can survive sieges, and there's also the aspect of back then they didn't have really electricity when they're building these things, and so the natural resources around you were really important. The location was everything. And I must admit, I always love coming here and feeling like the power of the River Tweed. It's back up to its like to near full height after the low in the summer, and it's flowing really beautifully. So we've been talking about over 10 minutes, and I've been talking very much in the 3D world. I also wanted to share like what my guides were telling me this morning, and so my meditation was all about slow. It was like slowing down, taking your time, being conscious with your energy, kind of like building up your energy like a battery. And they're showing me like the power of a glacier. Glaciers are so incredibly powerful. They can literally move massive boulders and carve out mountains and move mountains, and they're slow, right? I think they move, I don't know, I've heard in nature programs like they move about a meter a year or something. Come on, Patch. Patch loves it here with all the smells and all the old stone. This is like a giant wall. I wonder if they built this wall so high because of the river. But yeah, I think this is the castle wall as well. What was I going to say? Yeah, so they were talking about the power of glaciers and how slow they move. And yet, there's something about being able to move slow and with power and grace. It reminds me a lot of, yesterday I did a collaboration with Nella Mahat, and she's such a beautiful soul, and she has this like, whenever she's dancing, recently in videos, she often shows herself like in slow motion, like dancing really slow. And I think that's super cool because, come on, Patch, because it shows this like power and grace. And yeah, what's so beautiful about that is that you can see that you can almost see the energy flow, this like this power coming from like the source of this universe and then flowing through Nella as she dances. And so, sometimes I'm, it's a good lesson for me. Sometimes I'm just like pushing too hard and creating all the time, pushing out all the time, whereas the divine feminine aspect of receiving is really, really beautiful. Of course, I'm saying this as I'm staring into the sun. I'm going to take my hat off to absorb some more energy. Come on, Patch. Yeah, so I felt this lesson, and I've heard the term, seen it sometimes on YouTube, like the hashtag of slow living, and I think that's also a really beautiful way of thinking because and living, because it's like you can receive so much beautiful energy like from the source of this universe, from natural sources like water and sunshine and getting rest. And the power of receiving energy is one of the most powerful gifts, right? It's like this ability to be infinite in this present moment and to always fill your cup. And I'm learning that sometimes the hard way when I do lots of like client sessions, or I'm creating too much music at once is like when you're always pushing out, you're not taking enough time to receive. And the other like synergy that my guides were explaining to me afterwards was that my focus on things like electrical power and energy, they're really very similar and completely coupled at the moment in my life with like my psychic and my physical energy, if you like, are like, you know, electricity and power are very much coupled. Just looking at these beautiful swans. Hello. They're all coming up to see if I've got bread, and I don't have any. I'm too busy chatting with you guys. And energy leaks is really interesting. So when you think about it, if you have your thermostat turned up too high in your home, maybe you're opening a window to like cool it down. Or another one, which is probably way more common, is having the temperature of your hot water too high, and so whenever you put it in your bathtub, you can end up like you can end up just cooling it down. So you're like paying for all this energy to heat the water, and then you're bringing in this cold water to cool it down, and it's like, what a waste. Like, why not just heat it to a lower temperature? And of course, how do you get the energy? You work hard for it. You work in your day job or whatever you do in your life to earn money. So it's like an energy leak. And if you're just more conscious with what you spend with your energy, what you the energy that you let kind of released into this world, if you're conscious about it, then you can very quickly save yourself money. You can be like staring at your bank balance thinking, hey, why do I work so hard when I don't actually need quite as much money as this? Or the kind of tension or the anxiety around worrying about money is relieved. I also want to talk about abundance. So abundance is like, how does it align or not align with like conscious, come on Petch, conscious awareness of the money that you're spending and the energy that you're spending? And I feel like when you're conscious about your energy, and you consciously set the intention to receive it, and you consciously set the intention to expend it, what's so magical is that you can still feel in abundance. So going back to like that example of the guy that lives in his own motorhome, like his RV, he was saying, well, I only like use what I need to use, and I just manage, you know, depending on the capacity of the power I have, I like just manage my usage of it. So, you know, maybe just boil the kettle once or twice less than a day if you don't have the power, or spoil yourself if you do and use it more. Just reflecting back, write down. Hey, so unfortunately my phone just ran out of battery, which is so ironic. But the good news is I have lots of power to charge it at home.